Coming up on Mountain News at 6, one Southern Kentucky interstate sees a lot of crashes, especially this time of year. We'll take a look at what the Transportation Cabinet is doing to get ready for the incoming bad weather. Plus, the Kentucky Emergency Management Center gets ready for the bitter cold, standing by for whatever situation they might have to jump into.
Plus, we are tracking some snow and life-threatening cold as early as tonight. That full first alert forecast coming up as Mountain News at 6 starts now.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 6.
Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley. Kentucky is under a state of emergency right now as snow and below zero temperatures and certainly wind chills are headed to the region. The Arctic air will stick around through the Christmas weekend. Let's check in with meteorologist Cameron Aaron for the very latest. Cameron?
Yes, Steve, be sure to enjoy the mild weather while you can. We're in the 40s right now, so enjoy that because we are going to be about 30 degrees cooler by this time tomorrow. Let's go over to I-64 at Moorhead, looking at 45 degrees at this location as traffic is running smoothly on the interstate there. And over at the London Corbin Airport, 47 at this location right now. So again, relatively mild for the moment, but some major changes are on the way. 50 still at Manchester, 46 for Somerset, and 48 degrees over in Jackson. And up on Pinpoint Doppler, the good news, we are dry for the moment, but that is going to change as you look back to the west. That rain snow line still approaching I-65 in western Kentucky. And also I want to point out those darker blue colors. We will have to keep an eye on that as we get closer to this event, as we could see some heavier snow in some pockets. But I do want to point this out as well. 48 in Bowling Green, 27 in Owensboro, a 20-degree difference as you go about 70 or so miles to the north and west. And that big temperature difference is on the way by this time tonight. So, Steve, we are going to keep a close eye on that, and we'll have much more in that full forecast. Steve.
All right, big changes in a big hurry. Thank you very much, Cameron. A section of Kentucky Interstate in southern Kentucky has been the scene of numerous crashes, especially during winter weather events. Rockcastle County's section of I-75 is often closed periodically during snowstorms to allow crews to clear multiple wrecks. As WYMT's Phil Pendleton tells us, frequent interstate shutdowns as many drivers looking for places to stay until the road clears.
Christopher Longhurst has managed the Mount Vernon Quality Inn for 4 years. Each winter, it's often the same story.
Just last year, we had an accident just right below me, behind my left here. Just a few minutes later, where people were going too fast, they had another wreck right behind them.
It happens as several plow trucks are specifically assigned to the interstate alone.
Of course, they're well aware of, what goes on there and what could potentially happen there. We will have them staged out there before the weather even hits.
Last year, one family needed a place to stay for a week after their car flipped during a crash.
Luckily, none of them were actually injured in the vehicle. And the woman doesn't remember getting out of her vehicle. Her husband told her that she came out through the skylight once they stopped turning.
Somebody else who told me they used to work at another hotel said that during a recent situation when they had to shut the interstate down overnight, people were coming into that hotel begging to sleep on the floor when they found out that all the rooms were booked. Many have asked why so many crashes keep happening despite a widening and other improvements a few years ago.
Just people going too fast in the hills, and they're not leaving enough space in front of them so that if anything happens, they're able to react.
It's mainly, people need to slow down. That's the biggest thing that we really harp on people is, reduce your speed.
Hale says it's common for the interstate to be clear in one area and then quickly turn treacherous a few miles down the road. In Rockcastle County, Phil Pendleton, WYMT Mountain News.
Officials say the interstate in Rockcastle County is also very hilly and hard for some trucks to navigate when slick. State leaders are preparing to respond to tonight's storm and the brutally cold weather. As the winter storm races into Kentucky, state emergency management leaders have activated their command center, waiting to see what reactive response will be needed. The director of Kentucky Emergency Management says we could be seeing things that we haven't seen in decades that may occur that they have not responded to in past winter storms. That's why the Emergency Management Operations Center has been activated.
So we're watching those things like power as well, and as needed, we'll deploy more people in. But currently, we're staffed with those key partners that are keeping the roadways clean, the roadways safe.
The state is particularly paying attention on conditions for families living in travel trailers here in the mountains, making sure they have resources to be comfortable or be relocated if needed. With the cold and nasty weather approaching quickly, here are some things you need to know for when you are home. Make sure you have some flashlights and fresh batteries for them. It's also a good idea to keep water for drinking and cooking. Of course, power and water outages always a possibility during times like this. Officials say to have camping equipment such as sleeping bags, camp stoves, and lanterns. Maintain some non-perishable foods such as canned meats or tuna, and a manual can opener. Keep over-the-counter medication handy, and have your cell phone charged. Now some tips to consider when you are traveling to and from your destination. Obviously tomorrow, a huge travel day ahead of Christmas. Officials urge you to not travel unless you absolutely have to. Hopefully a lot of folks were able to go today. Make sure your vehicle is capable of handling the treacherous conditions. Check the battery, antifreeze, heater, defroster, and wipers. Dress warm and keep at least 2/3 of fuel in your gas tank. Also, have your headlights on when visibility decreases. You can stay weather aware with the WYMT First Alert Weather app. Scan this QR code to download or search for it in your app store. It gives you the latest weather alerts and radar, and it works with cellular data if you lose power and Wi-Fi. And for the latest list of warming shelters, and it's a long one, go to WYMT.com. In Governor Beshear's Team Kentucky update earlier today, the governor confirmed another death from the flood that occurred back in July. So the death toll is now up to 44, and one person is still missing. We've been told the latest death attributed to the flood is May Ambergy, the woman you see there on your screen. The woman from Letcher County, of course, made headlines nationwide during the flood when that picture was posted of her being surrounded by floodwaters. Ambergy died back in October at the age of 97. Deputies in Floyd County say they have stopped one man who was trying to steal utility service cable worth thousands of dollars. In a post on Facebook, officials with the Sheriff's Department say they were called out to the Goose Creek community around 3 a.m. yesterday morning after hearing that two men were cutting the cable in an effort to steal it. When police arrived, one of the men went into the hills while deputies were able to track another one down and take him into custody. The two men had cut and damaged several hundred feet of phone and internet cable cords before police arrived. The deputies arrested Eddie Shepard from David. He was charged with theft by unlawful taking and criminal mischief and was taken to the Floyd County Detention Center. Police in Laurel County need your help as they continue to search for a missing man. Police say 72-year-old Kenneth Baldwin was last seen off East Laurel Road, about 10 miles east of London, around 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon. He's 6 feet tall, 260 pounds, has brown hair that goes below the shoulders. Baldwin also drives a white GMC Terrain SUV with Kentucky tag number 603ZMN. If you have any information, you're asked to call the numbers that you see there on your screen. In Whitley County, a man who was on a horse was hit by another man driving a car. The incident happened just before 7 o'clock last night. Kentucky State Police say the man that was hit was 18-year-old Logan Brock of the Gray community of Knox County. 74-year-old Robert A. Walker of Corbin was driving on Bee Creek Road in a 1970 Chevy Blazer when he struck Brock and the horse. Brock was taken to Baptist Health Corbin for treatment. The horse died at the scene. Walker was not injured, and troopers say drugs and alcohol are not suspected in the incident.
A First Alert Weather Day is on tap as we are tracking a major weather system into tonight. All those details coming up next.
Plus, the Mountain Santa comes to one eastern Kentucky community as Christmas approaches.